The Orient Express and a mummified soldier modified for stealth. What's not to love? Today we will be taking a look back at this episode from the 8th series of the Doctor Who revival and breaking it down to see what did and didn't work. So this episode starts out with Clara going on one last trip with the 12th Doctor, aboard a space train modelled after the Orient Express. Upon their arrival, they learn of the death of a woman called Miss Pitt, whom witnessed a mummy no other passenger could see attack her, which naturally makes the Doctor curious. This opening is beyond amazing. It's really fast paced and just gets you straight into that story. The setting as well is just brilliant and the atmosphere is so immersive. The aesthetic and overall visuals really sell it. And to me it's probably one of the best looking episodes in the whole of the show. Not long after, a similar death occurs in the kitchen compartment. The Doctor discovers that the death of this kitchen worker as well as Miss Pitt occurred exactly 60 seconds after a flickering light happened in the carriage. These strange events directly following the legend of a supernatural being called the Foretold. He chooses not to wake Clara up with this information, but not long after, she leaves her room, searching for him, but she ends up meeting Miss Pitt's daughter, Maisie. And they both get stuck in a storage car with a weird looking space sarcophagus. See, I really like the Doctor not waking her up here. It feels almost like a strategy to keep her going on adventures with him, as from her perspective, it kind of makes him seem disinterested in her. But it can also be interpreted in a way that makes him seem like he's okay with her departure. Either way you look at it, it can work, and I think it's actually purposefully done that way, which is just amazing. Not long after, the Doctor expresses suspicion at the number of scientists aboard this train, and the facade of the Orient Express disappears, revealing a laboratory. An intercom voice informs the passengers they are now to study the Foretold, reverse engineering the technology it uses.
Around the room, you will find a variety of scientific equipment. Your goal is to ascertain the Foretold's true nature.
After a short phone call with Clara, the Doctor realizes the sarcophagus that she is with is to hold the Foretold once they figure out how it works. At this point, we're about halfway through the episode and Clara's basically done nothing, but I do like the hints of her understanding who the Doctor is. As he is very manipulative, yes, but he is still good at heart. We all know that, of course, as the audience, but seeing Clara realise that after the events of the last episode is really nice. I still cannot explain his decision to leave her on the moon though last episode. It seems very weird. She was obviously upset after this, but you already know she loves these adventures too much to let that stop her from joining him. The Doctor and Perkins then realise that the Foretold is draining energy from its victims using some phase-shifting technology. Perkins also observes that all of the victims are getting taken in order of weakness when considering health, whether that be psychological or physical. When Perkins suggests that Maisie's the next victim, due to her trauma, Clara immediately lies to her to bring her to the lab. When Maisie sees the Foretold, the Doctor quickly extracts her memories to make the Foretold target him instead of her. And in those 60 seconds, the Doctor successfully identifies the Foretold as a modified stealth soldier and offers surrender to tell the Foretold that the war is over. The Foretold, finally released from its duty, offers the Doctor a salute before it disappears into a pile of dust, leaving behind its phase-shifting device. The monster idea in this episode is actually incredible though. I just love the idea of the countdown and how it targets the easier kills. Like, it just makes sense from a logic perspective. Also, the Foretold being a soldier is so fitting for this season, along with the Doctor being portrayed as a general as he gets saluted for his victory. Because the Doctor was successful in finding the secrets of the Foretold, the carriage started removing air, causing everyone to be starved of oxygen. The Doctor then evacuates Clara and the other passengers into the TARDIS, dropping off the passengers to a nearby planet. If you have watched this episode, you will know how unaffected the Doctor is by this lack of air. Like, how is he surviving that long? We see him affected by a lack of air in other episodes, for example Flatline, the episode directly after this, when he runs out of air because his TARDIS is shrunk. I guess it's a slight inconsistency, but I'm just not sure of why it was included. The Doctor then explains to Clara that sometimes the only choice is a bad choice, hence his lack of emotion towards the dead at the time. Moving on to the next of the Foretold's victims to try and beat it. Danny then phones Clara to ask if she has said goodbye to him, and she ends up lying to both Danny and the Doctor, and she goes off continuing her adventures with him. This episode is without a doubt one of the best of this season. The only slight negative I have with this episode is that Clara is severely underutilized. It did let the Doctor shine more in this, so I can't be too mad, but she was locked in a cupboard for most of this episode with some really pointless lines of dialogue. They also just completely skipped over how Clara escaped the cupboard room, because they needed a higher authority level to let them out, and the guy with that had already died, and the Doctor tried letting them out earlier with his sonic and couldn't get them out, and then apparently he did later. I don't know, it doesn't really work. It's a tiny issue, I'm not that bothered by it. So anyway, this episode to me is nearly perfect. There isn't much more you can ask for in an episode, really. It has a great setting and a cool monster that actually has good stakes, and it's executed pretty flawlessly. It does have a few issues, but it doesn't harm the experience that much. They kind of just hold it back from being better than it was. Unfortunately, that is all I have for you today. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing my perspective on this story, but I would love to know what yours are, so drop a comment down below of your thoughts. Real quick though, if you have made it this far, I'm probably right in saying that you like Doctor Who, or maybe even love it. So why not check out my breakdown of the episode In the Forest of the Night, as I'm sure it would entertain you as much as this video did. And thank you for watching.